Monte Williams' brother made, Herman Williams III. Um, and he was saying about the term black and all you people about this before. In the past, of course, I use the term black sometimes, but I will admit that when I do consider myself a multiracial person because I have African American, Native American, and Caucasian descent. And I always, when I was a child, when he meant the word black, you know, I adapted it first. When we was coming up there, I went to my community. I grew up, middle class community was. It was a suburban community of African descended people of different shades and heritage and colors, even folks that look like white folks. And there was people who have mixed backgrounds, including myself. I'm also mixed with Creoles, so there was a lot of Creoles there as well. From the dark brown Creoles, including my grandfather was a dark brown Creole, to those who lighter than me, high yellow, and those who look like white folks, and those who look like Hispanic folks. Okay, and so and when I was growing up, I heard people say, even kids, your mama so black, you so dark. It was, to be honest with you, that's what I heard back in the 80s. You even heard dark skinned people say that black so and so, so and so, so. And they were talking about somebody that was real dark brown. And so what happened when I went to an integrated school, of course, it was after the 60s and 70s and the 80s, right? And I heard white people or some Hispanic people refer me as black. They was like, huh? Because I was thinking of, I was a little child, so I was thinking somebody was real dark. No, I'm not black, you know what I'm saying? So, and when some white teacher had told me that, yeah, you are black, and I said, okay, and so, and I never get, I learned about my alteration, but first time for the non-blacks part of me, my dad told my Native American side of family, Native American ancestry. Then I learned there was French, and then I did not know my mother's side of family, except for the African descendant part, because I wasn't raised by them. I would go see them once in a while, see my other siblings on that side of the family, because I'm my own dad's child. I'm the fourth last child on my mother's side. So I have three siblings, one sister, two brothers, and I'm the youngest. And so that was, I was like, so that was weird, and I always had an issue with that word because, you know, you think of, when you're a child, you thought there was something dark, black, you know. And when so I'm going back to, so as I got older, I grew up in a time you watch Boys in the Hood that, when Trey was in the army, his dad was very Afrocentric, and he told the other class member that they were Africans, and we not from Africa. And I used to have trouble with that word African American. But then I was like, well, I'd rather be called, which is true. Even though I was learning, even though I was still in that one drop identity mode of one drop makes you a whole year black or African American. And then I really found out I was really racially mixed. Really, that since if I have these different races in this, what I am. Um, what happened was, is it smearing? Oh, it's not smearing. Sorry. What happened was, I adapted the word African American. I said, this is better than black because, you know, when you hear stuff like black, you so black, this and that, and you go to a white racist school, where there's some Hispanic people who's being portrayed like they was trying to assimilate to white racist ideology. Um, and they're mixed with African as well. Even though they're Mexican, they are African in Mexico as well. I talk about that a lot because it's hypocrisy on their behalf. They could be mixed with African besides Spanish and American. So what happened was, in my family did not like the word African American. They prefer black, whatever. Even though so and those people, even those from light skinned folks, from dark skinned people. I met people who said, we're not from Africa. Just because I answered, we're not from Africa, and so I prefer the word African American over black, and I still do. I will admit that. I still do. Even those I was reading, looking at some Creole, French Creole person, and they would say black, and the side, the African side, and the African American. And I will always tell people my skin is not. No, I'm sorry. Show it. Okay, good. It's more control. See, I'm not. Thank you. Okay, so my skin is not black. Okay, and I used to get offended when someone says that because it was racist to say that. So, cause you think even as a child, you don't know about, but you know the ideology of the word and the tone of a person, and you can eater, like I was learning the word eater, but I never knew when I was a child, but I was eater in the word, the term with what type of language, the content, as you know, what there was these people were saying, and you can tell it was coming from a racist standard. And back and I know and I read a lot about my history. Like I was looking at Bessie today on YouTube. I'm not saying nobody who put it because I want to get in trouble. I don't have cable, but I was looking at putting out here Bessie. And back in the Jim Crow days, they had mammies. They had white people put black tar on them. They had sambos. So you know, so when actually, because every time we see people of different shades and color and hair texture in our community, you ask questions, and then you look at yourself in the mirror and you say, well, I might have African features, I might have African hair texture, but my skin is not dark brown like those from Africa. Because back in the day, we used to see, even though and when you learn as you grow that Ethiopians are very mixed, even the dark ones, the light ones, whatever, because it's they're many of are Jewish. Also, they have and there are Christians who eat the Ethiopian Orthodox as well. They have Semitic blood. And the first Jews were quote black or Negro or whatever you want to say, African descent or whatever. So what happened was, um, I started to ask questions about my family tree, and I never get besides learning the French part, but not really recognize it because I thought I wasn't Creole, I didn't look too much Creole, like what I'm saying. And I saw Creoles who were darker than me, and I said, well, if I'm lighter than them, so I must be Creole as well. And and I started seeing different shades of Creole people, and here just like, dang, and they would say, well, they not mixed, they black, they just got white blood in them. And I was like, I said, well, you got more black blood in you. But I would look in the mirror, I said, yeah, I might have more African, but I don't look 100% African with the skin tone. And I mentioned my videos that I was referred as light skinned growing up as a child. So in the early '90s as well. And so I started to say, wait a minute, what am I besides? Because and I had a problem with the white definition of what I am, should I say? Because that's how, like this white man was saying on Who's Black on CNN, that white people were the ones who determined who was white, who was black, or Negro, or color at the time. It wasn't people of African descent where it was mixed or pure African descent. Never decided this one drop rule. And I would hear people in my family would quote that one drop rule shit. Sorry to cuss. It makes me mad when I hear that because and I had something wrong with them quoting this, and they think it's a quote quote for black for liberation or whatever. But it was a white racist ideology. It was not made by it. So I started to and I started to when I watched the movie Queen. I didn't watch Roots until '94, but when I watched Alex Haley Queen, and Alex Haley has kinky hair like I do, and he was like, so you're talking about somebody. Queen was this mixed race woman who was part black and white, part African, this American, part Native American and Caucasian. Her dad was a slave master. Her mother was Native American and African American. And Halle Berry put that pale makeup on, that wig on. She, could look close to white because Queen passed as white during her life before she was mistreated by the white community as they found out she was part African American. And so, what happened was when I watched that movie, I was moved. So I say, and I never forget the journalist used to be on what's that not 2020 60 minutes. He died in 2006 or 5. He was a light skinned brother. You probably don't talk about his name, but I see him. He mentioned on CBS during Black History and when the movie Queen came out that light skin. So when I was referred that, I said, well, you know what? I need to read about it. He said, well, they might have white ancestors, whatever, besides black. And I was like, okay, well, I need to find out about my roots. And so when I started, I was not doing my schoolwork. I'm serious. I was in seventh grade. My family said, do your schoolwork, Zach. I'm like, no, I need to find out about my roots. I would ask my grandmother on my mom's side. And that's when I said, well, no wonder, because I don't know my grandfather's, uh, I know a little bit about his family tree. Grandfather, my dad's side, I mean, my mom's side, excuse me. Grandfather, my mom's side, because he left my mother and my grandmother a long time ago. And he got killed in '86 when I was 7 years old. I never met him. I'm through social media. I met my aunt, who's my age, because I'll be 35, 36. So I am 35. I'll be 36. She was born in '79. She's a couple months older than me. Um, so when I found, I was trying to find out about my roots, and when my grandmother on my mom's side told me about her great grandfather, which is my great great grandfather, was mixed with white, and he looked white, I said, uh huh. And then my grandma on my dad's side told me that before I started researching my roots, it was in '93. And she said, my grandfather had English aunts. I was like, what? We mix with white on your side of the family? So, I said, and my grandfather on my dad's side, there, his parents from Louisiana, so I always suspected it was Creole. And my aunt told me, and I was 8, but I really, because I thought I wasn't too excited to be Creole. But when I saw people who were darker than me, I said, yeah, I'm Creole, okay. So, there was Creole, you know what I'm saying? So people think that someone that looks like, Elder Barge is Creole or lighter. But there are Creole people like Fats Domino, he's Creole, he's dark skinned. So, Buckwheat from Zydeco band. Yeah, it was Buckwheat with, yeah, no, not Buckwheat from Little Rascals. If anybody listens to Zydeco music, there's a man called Buckwheat and Zydeco something. And, when I, at the parish, when I joined this parish, Catholic parish, when I was 13, and joined their church and stuff, they used to come play at the church when we doing Zydeco or bazaars and stuff. So when I started to read it, and Creole culture was right there at the church, and I started to see people, different shades and heritage, because my church was a rainbow, okay? When I joined at 13 years old, it's like God opened this new world to me. And and I started to really find out, so, well, I need to get with my Creole roots. My grandfather did not get into his Creole roots, but other relatives in the family had told me, he said, yeah, that his grandmother on his dad's side that was dark skinned, but she was mixed with Creole and Native American as well, besides, black. And I said, well, no wonder. And when I remember before I joined, before I started to research my roots, one of my cousins I never knew died of AIDS in 1993. I never knew his cousin, and we went to the Pentecostal church. And when I saw a long line of my cousins and relatives on my grandfather's side, it was the darkest to high yellow. And I remember it was one of his relatives' cousins. He was about a little bit about my shade, but a little lighter, and he was red. I'm serious. I ain't talking about high yellow. I'm talking about the tint red, okay? Brownish red. I'm like, dang. So of course I had to ask questions. So in the reason why I'm talking about my family tree, so I can relate to the video of Herman Williams, because the word black, the reason why. So back in the day, people did not like to use the word African, but I would use the word African over black. And I started calling myself multiracial since I was 13. And, because my family, I always knew before I was 13 that I was mixed with Native American, but I knew it had to be something white, because like I said, I have family friends who are Creole, some who was not Creole, who were darker than me, who mixed in their family. Somebody had some white and Indian, Native American in their family. So I started to be curious about, because, and that's, so, and like I said, and even family members did not, there were people who would say, they did not like the word African, the word black. But that's how I describe my African roots as African. I do say the word black since that's used a lot. But when I watched, and like I say, I always knew that because I always tell people, the African slaves, even though there are some African people that was black, your color, but there was a lot of dark brown people too. And I always tell people that African people that I come to this country call themselves black, Negro, color, nigger, because they use that word back in slavery days. They did not come up with this word. White racist people came up with these words. And and when I say that, and I'll never forget, a white man, we was talking about this, and he would say, "Well, I'm not skin, it's not white." But I said, "Excuse me, European is on the one who called himself white. Not only in America, even in Latin America and the Caribbean, they call themselves white. You go to, if you go to anybody in Mexico, they use the word blanco for a person of their race. You're talking about European, you know what they're talking about. So, and blanco means white in Spanish. So that's that's how I learned the how where I really was. And then when people was debating my family, one drop of black blood makes you a whole, and I started to question. I said, well, who made that law? And I found out doing, and one thing, I search is one thing about searching and being patient, and you learn a lot of truth. I knew it was a white racist man that wrote that law. I knew it was not no black nationalist that wrote that law, and I really knew that. And when I found out through Oprah, and she has people who passed, folks who passed as white on there. She had one woman in her family who passed as white, who wrote the book Sweet to Juice back in '93. She came on the show in '93 and then '96. And Gregory Williams was on there. He like a white man. His father was part black, and his mother was white, and when they found out and spilled things on their white mothers left them, and then they went to Muncie, Indiana, where white people who was racist, and they would call him, even though he looked like a white man, nigger and stuff like that. He was on, he was talking about his story on he called himself a black man, even though he like a white man. He was on Oprah Winfrey. And the woman from Sweet Juice, the author of that, she was on there, and she mentioned that the one drop rule was I mean, this was she said, because actually it was 1967. The one drop rule was abolished, but she said in 1987, and Louisiana was the only state that didn't have the one drop rule since 1987. But and Oprah mentioned that when Tiger Woods said he was combination, Caucasian, black, Native American, when he used the word Indian, black, and Native American and Asian, when he won the Masters of the golf tournament, that's when people of African American descent was bashing him, who was for the one drop rule. And I was on Tiger back when I was in 11th grade. And I was on Tiger Woods' side. Yes, I was. I was on Tiger Woods' side, and that's how I found out the one drop rule. And the one thing Oprah said, she said the one drop rule was made by. I'm not naked, y'all. I'm not. I don't have shorts. I have shorts on, y'all. I have shorts on. Anyway, sorry. All right, 'cause I have to charge the computer. Right, but it's hot in here, so I have to take my shirt off. But when I saw the one about the one rule, she said the slave masters made that rule. That's why they raped or they seduced a female slave, whether she's mixed or pure black, in order to have more slaves with the one drop rule. And that's when the time when the multiracial movement was getting big in the '90s. That's when after the multiracial solidarity march was 1996 in July. I don't forget. I wish I was there. Um, that's when you can tell I keep up with the multiracial movement when I was a teenager, and I'm 35. I still remember this stuff. Okay, that's when they was trying to pressure the government to change have a multiracial category on the census. So that's what I mean. Not to go in a big story about my life, but I'm just letting you know what I'm going from about Montel Williams' brother's video. The reason why I brought up all this stuff is because I knew the word term black was not a good word to describe, even though we still use it. Now I mentioned the Africans never called themselves black; they had different tribal names. It was white people who went, like he said, the Portuguese. He got the Spanish too. The Portuguese, the English, and the Dutch, the French, whatever, went to Africa, and they said all these black people. And in Martin Williams Brothers' video, he said that black and Negro is anonymous. He said in 19, because back at the time, in 1960, that's when Sterling Carmichael, when he changed his, before he changed his name, he the one came up with, he was a racist, which I know, of course he was, and I'm not with the black nationalist, black and down movement. That's the reason why I'm not. He said that he the one that came out with the word black power. Okay, he and Martin King did not get along. The Black Power movement nationalists was against the civil rights movement. They was for separation races because you had the black nationalists and you had like the Black Panther movement and you had the black Muslims, which is the Nation of Islam. And they was for separation. They was for they was not for integration. They called civil rights leaders like Martin King Uncle Toms. And I knew this because some of my family is a black nationalist in a way. And we used to debate about this when even as a child. So that's why I have a different perspective to this day. And since I was a child, I was different. I was totally against what they believed in because I do it. There was a lack of resources when you separate. Okay, so and he said Herman Williams III. He said ever because back when it was colored, education was in the mind of people who consider us African Americans colored. Okay, they were mind about getting their own business, going to school. Their parents beat in their head, not for a couple hundred. That even I didn't go to school and I pick cotton, whatever. You gonna go to school and go to college. That was in the brain of my people at the time. But back in the '60s, during the civil rights movement and the Black Panther movement came in, started coming out, came over Black Power, and that's when my James Brown came out. He had a perm, and he still died with a perm in his head. James Brown came out with the song Black, I'm Proud. And ever since the word black, he said, look what happened, because you look at the word black, the definition, because remember, our people who are African never call themselves black, okay? Even a mom who's African said she never knew she was black till she came to the United States. So, and that's serious. And so, that's why I prefer the word African American than the word black when deciding my African side of my roots and my identity, because I do I don't deny I'm African American, but I refuse to deny my multiracial roots as well. So I'm not pure African American. I'm part African American. Many of us are part African American, and so when I saw his video, he touched on the point. He said words have power because ever since the word black came into the category and an identity, that's when you see the disintegration. You see all the police shootings going on. You see all the crimes going on. And like I always tell people, our ancestors are rolling their graves. Harriet Tubman is rolling their graves when they see all this thuggery and the coonery and the buffoonery and even when the NFL has said we're gonna stop using the word nigger on their court, on their football field, you'll be fired off the team. A brother with dreadlocks, being a coon, is the one said, that's racist, we can't use the word nigger. That's some coon, I'm sorry, cuz, that's some coonin' shit. That is some coonin' shit. Who wants to be called a nigger? And the word nigger is ignorant, low down, savage, thug. So when I saw this video, Herman Williams III, he said, if you look at the word black, it means something about the evil, devil, all this other stuff. And I said, that's the same thing as a child that came in my head when the white folks would call me black. And I knew that it was a racial connotation of it. And I always say, y'all can call me a coon, but Sterling Carmichael is the one that came up with the term black because white folks refer to us as black. And once again, I get tired that our people need to stop letting white racist people define our identity. Okay, and I always say this: if they didn't want to say how claim my white side, because it was not always by race. We had sharecroppers who was Irish who did intermarry with blacks, even though there was some interracial marriage laws against that. Oh, African American, excuse me. You had indentured servants, in especially Virginia, because I read the book Color Complex Skin Color Policy Among African Americans. Because everybody's talking about it's always white blood, it's always master rape. Queen Mom was not raped because she was uh, Anne Morgan. She slapped Queen. I wanted Queen to slap her bad. I know they couldn't do that, but she was jealous and she was mad why Queen Mama was kicked out the plantation because of the affair that was going on between her white husband and Queen's mom, who was black, who was African and Native American. And so, Jasmine Guy played her mother, and Halle Berry played, and Raven Simone played Queen as a child, and Halle Berry played her as an adult. And so, you know, so for this, we never, what I'm saying, I wish that y'all, so he said it was synonymous that nigger and black is like the same because uh, because if you look at the word black when non-racially, you know that is used for a negative thing. For example, when you go to a funeral, you dress in black, okay? So, and it was the white man wrote that, no, no, no. Black African folks never called themselves black. I wish I get that in your head. White people were poses on it, okay? And when they saw African people, they saw them as savages. That's where the word thug comes from, okay? When in the N-word sense. So that's when they refer to them as niggers. They make fun of their dark brown skin and hair kinky, whatever. They dehumanize them, you know. So you know your history, and it's Herman Williams III is on point. I even tweet about that. This man is talking sense, and that's why even in Spanish, anybody who's Hispanic know me. I don't refer myself as negro. I refer myself as moreno mixto or moreno de raza mixta or un hombre mixto. Mixto means mixed in Spanish. Moreno is like dark, you don't say because I don't call myself dark skin, but that's like a substitute for word for black. Um, because the connotations of it, I know when I was in school with some Hispanic people who were racist, they would say, pinche negro, all the other stuff. And I knew, I said, even though I like the song, like everything in the Bible, I said Cruz, I don't call myself, I don't refer her as negra. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I'm glad that even though, even like, for example, I was on social media, was talking about Afro-Mexican people, and they're like refer to themselves as negro, and I was telling some Mexican American guy who admits that he has African roots along with an American Spaniard. I said I don't even like the word negro because I refer to these people as Afro mestizos, Afro Mexican people. I don't like to call them negro in Spanish. I don't even call myself negro. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm glad that Herman Williams got this video out, and I'm glad he did. And that's why I told people in the past, I'm so used to use the word black because we grew up using that word, but I do prefer African American over the word black. And I want to tell somebody, my skin is not this color. Look at his phone. It is not the color. You know what I'm saying? So why do and even Herman Williams, even though he's olive skin, see his skin was brown, okay? Because Herman Williams lied to me. You know what I'm saying? He was right. He said, why do we, that's a false connotation of who I am, and that is, and one thing, that gets on my nerves that this society tries to tell somebody how to identify, and use negative connotations to tell somebody how to identify. That's what the whole idea comes from, and that's why it's not a cooning video, y'all. And the white racist people wants it's like it's no. I always tell people one drop rule and how identity come by. It's like you do a cow. You're if you're a farmer, You get one of those like a tattoo, a brand. You brand a cow. That's how they did slaves. Okay, you know they did something they did brand slaves. But I'm talking about when it comes to identity. That's how they force this identity on us, and we don't have identity crisis. They have a They have a crisis about our identity when we say we're multiracial, and so and I said in my bill, you need to reject the people who don't accept you for who you really are. And even like I say, it's sad to see a brother on a football team when the NFL said we'll stop use the word nigger on the football field. You don't sit here and say that's racist. No, it's not racist. The person who is um, defending the N word is racist. It's so sad that some of my people want to be inferior, like, and they are being inferior. Instead of you seeing yourself high ground, you want to make yourself to be inferior. And I mean, and you going on with white racist inferiority about who you are, when you refer yourself as a nigger. And I mean, I'm serious. Our ancestors who fought for our rights, the civil rights movement, and enduring slavery are rolling in their grave when they hear our young people call themselves as niggers. And older people too, okay? And and like I say, I don't like to be around people who don't respect the fact that I don't want to be caught with social the word nigger. That is a negative word. I have more intelligence to be away from, what I'm saying? And just because society see me as, like I say, but still a middle finger to them people who see me as a nigger. Okay? So, yeah, I'm serious. And like I said, they do see me as no more friendships. I don't know associations. How you do it? So, that's why I agree with Herman Williams III. I do agree with the ideology. I think that we need to refer ourselves as multiracial because we're not pure, quote unquote, black, African, whatever you want to say. We are partially of it. And, we need to start thinking that one drop rule is the law. I'm going to say this again. It's like I feel like I'm emancipated. Like I feel like I'm in slavery days because remember, cause I'm gonna tell you, and it's Juneteenth right now. This is Juneteenth. Juneteenth, I'm educated. Juneteenth is when 3 years after slavery was ended, here in Texas, the slaves did not know they were free. So they found out in 1865 they were free, and so after 3 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. And so that's why we celebrate Juneteenth, because right now it's Juneteenth and Multiracial Heritage Week. So I'm saying I take both of my heritages. So anyway, it's fun. So that's the whole reason why I would like to tell you this, that y'all need to understand that one drop rule is no longer a law. Okay? Ever since the Loving versus Virginia case, Loving versus Virginia was an African American woman who was considered black at the time, was married to a white man. It was illegal for them to marry in Virginia. If you know Lee Shaw from, if you watched the movie, I watched it when I was in 10th grade back in '96. It was on Showtime right after Waiting to Exhale. Lee Shaw played in Waiting to Exhale. Well, she also played Mrs. Loving, okay, in the TV movie on Showtime. So what happened was when they left Virginia and they went to Washington D.C. and they wrote to Washington D.C. and doing the White House, Congress, where you want to say it, and they wanted to fight a case to make all interracial marriages to be legal, and and to ban those laws. And so when they banned those laws in 1967, in the West Virginia case, um, the Supreme Court considered the one drop rule unconstitutional. Yes, unconstitutional. So all these years we not know that, and it took to 2000 that the Census Bureau allowed us to check more than one box because of civil rights minority groups like the NAACP, LULAC, National Council of Raza, AIM, which is American Indian Movement, Asian League, Urban League. They want us to have a multiracial category on the census. So they allowed us to check more than one box on the census in 2000, and I checked black, African American, and white, and an American Indian. I prefer to use the word, like I would prefer to use African American over black. I prefer to use the word Native American because Let me let you know the reason why I prefer to use the word. Even though I sometimes catch, I'm so used to use the word Indian because when I grew up and found, especially when I found my Native American roots, we used to, well, you got Indian blood, as it would tell us, it tell me when I was a child. Um, when Christopher Columbus came to America, okay, so I had science on me. Christopher Columbus came to America. They was trying. They thought they did not know about what they called the America's New World. And when they saw the people, they thought that was in India, and that's when we, the American people, because I both identify both of my roots, all three of my roots, we Native American people was called Indians, and so our ancestors was called Indians, even though they were not from India, and that's how been stuck with that name. Even in the Americas, they say, I mean, in Latin America, they say Indio, you know, even when they're not from India. And so when I speak Spanish, I say about my identity, I say, yo soy mixto, yo soy parte África Americana Indígena, francés, inglés, which is African American, Native American, or indigenous, French, and English. And for where I learned I was in Spanish class, if they use the word Indio or India for the American person, I use the word um, I use the word indígena. Indígena means indigenous. Excuse me, y'all. Yeah, that's something that's on me. That's nothing but my nose hair. So anyway, that'll be what I'm saying. So I use the word indígena um, of Indio, or you know what I'm saying. And so I know you say nativo americano. Yeah, I said, but I'm still used to the word indígena, so I use the word indigenous. But when I use in English, I say the word in the American. And so that's where that word. And so I prefer to use that word, be politically correct, in the American instead of American Indian. But I do check both black, white, and the American Indian, so people can realize that's who really we are, and we not let the white race society tell us who we are. Um, I don't, and even so I agree with Herman Williams. Herman Williams is also mixed, and so is Montel when you always talk about racial issues, because I watch his shows during the 90s. He mentioned that his mother was part white. So it explains why Montel Williams has a caramel complexion like myself, and um, his brother Herman Williams, who made this video, is high yellow, olive skin. He's not extremely high yellow, but he's an olive skin person. So a light brown, should I say? Extremely light brown. Okay, so I love watching Monty Williams. He was back in the 90s. I like watching his brother's videos, and I'm glad that he made his video about uh what's it called again? Oh, um, this what's it, not this what's the word? Hold on, y'all. I just watched the video and then I made a video about it. And I forgot the title of it. Oh, he said betrayed by black culture, because he said the black culture was made by Stony Cold Michael, and he was a racist, and and he was. Stony Cold Michael was a racist. I mean, that's why I'm not with the Black Nationalist movement. And he went to Africa since he wanted to be a separatist. At least some folks who talk about integration and mess us up. I'm serious. If you, one thing I say is go back to Africa. If you don't like the fact that Martin Luther King fought for us and had dogs bitten on them and spit at and all this other stuff so we can be free, so we can go to any mall we go to, any clothing store, any restaurant, whatever, any business we want to go to. Y'all sitting here talking about, y'all want separation. Hey, go back to Africa. None of y'all know one thing different between you and I. Nobody's not, though those who claim to want to separate are claiming the American side. And not claiming the American side. And it's sad, and y'all let the white races demonic man tell you how to identify, deny your mixed roots, and you sit here whine about integration is wrong, uh, you know, And no, it's not wrong. Martin King fought. Y'all slapped her in the face when y'all say that. Okay? And so I'm for integration. I'm for diversity, multiculturalism, and multiracialism. I'm glad that God gave my parents a mixed background. Um, and I'm not for that one drop rule or the blood quarter mess. Um, I'm glad this bill about betrayed by black culture, which is true. We be betrayed by the white race society, tell us who we are, and these black nationalists who are the coons go along with the white racist ideology, but who they think we should go along with. And one thing that pisses me off is white nationalists and quote unquote black nationalists who of different shades who don't look like, not all of them look like Mother Africa, okay? Trying to tell us what is black, how to live, because we have one drop of cocoa black blood. It just get on my nerves, because I ain't trying to know one thing about me. Anyone that knows me, I am very rebellious. I do what I want to do. I don't even let my own mom and daddy tell me what to do. Okay, I'm grown. So what do you think I'm gonna let somebody else know that white identify as black gonna tell me how to live my life? You know what I'm saying? So that gets on. It just gets It irks me. I do not like nobody running my life. Okay, so instead of fighting for us, for the people, fighting for us to have all type of freedom. And if you don't like the stuff we do, just go about your business. Don't worry about what I do. It's people nosy trying to be the slave master with one drop of African blood in them, trying to tell us how to do. I don't live like that. I live how I want to live. I do me. And they say, do you, and I do me. I do me. So that's how that I live my life, and it just pisses me off when people say we should separate. No, if your ass wants or the cuss wants to separate, go back to Africa. Get out the American lanes. It's one thing y'all don't claim your Native American side. That's one thing I don't understand. You will let a white racist man tell you how to identify yourself. You want to call somebody else a coon who refuses to go along with white racist ideology about who we are, and yet you want to separate because white man want us to separate. There's another coon attitude right there. You doing exactly what they want you to do, and to want to stay in a place, and instead of forming your own place, you want somebody to live an oppressed place, and then you want to get mad because we don't go. Somebody like myself don't go along with their views. You know what I'm saying? And I don't want to go along with their views. I have my own agenda. You know what I'm saying? So and so and one thing Custodian Carmichael did go to Africa, and he later on passed away in Africa. So I would wish that some of the people who are the separatists who have identified as black would just go and leave the folks who don't want to go along with the agenda alone and go to Africa. And I wish the white racists, Ku Klux Klan, and neo-Nazi folks would go to Europe because no white man discovered this country. It was my Native American ancestors who discovered this country. They're the one who stepped foot. They're the one who had their own culture, their own languages, and everything else. It was a white man who stole the white racist man who stole this land and colonized it the way how he wanted to, and try to tell somebody to separate because he wanted pure white purity, but yet he's still sleeping around with African, having sexual contact with African women and the American women, which is really why we here. Okay, so it just irks me. But anyway, I like Herman video, and I'm going to close because it's time for me to go to sleep. I ain't been asleep for a while. So I was watching Bessie with Queen Latifah. That was a good movie. It was. With Bessie was a good movie. Anyway, y'all, bye bye. Have a nice day. Thing's hot.